The space station gleamed like a silver wheel against the backdrop of swirling purple nebula clouds. Dr. Alan Peters pressed his hand against the viewport glass, watching as the shuttle carried him closer to his new home. His heart beat faster with each passing second. After 5 years of Earth knowing about alien life, he was the first human scientist to work at the Galactic Council's central hub. "Please prepare for docking procedures," announced a calm voice in 3 different languages before switching to English. "Human delegate, welcome to Station Harmony." Alan straightened his blue uniform jacket and checked his reflection in the glass. At 34, with short brown hair and tired eyes, he looked more like an overworked office worker than humanity's scientific ambassador. He patted the pocket containing his research notes. The Council had specifically requested information about human biology for their archives. The shuttle shuddered as docking clamps engaged. When the doors slid open, Alan stepped through into a whole new world. The arrival hall bustled with more alien species than he could count. Tall, willowy beings with 4 arms moved gracefully past squat creatures that seemed to roll rather than walk. Overhead, winged aliens fluttered between floating platforms. The air smelled of spice and something like ozone. "Dr. Peters, over here," called a voice. Alan turned to see a reptilian being approaching. The alien stood nearly 7 feet tall with copper-colored scales and vertical pupils and yellow eyes. A translator device hung around its neck. "I am Zixar," the being said with a slight bow. "I have been assigned as your guide and liaison during your stay. We are most honored to welcome the first human xenobiologist to the Council station." "Thank you," Alan replied, attempting to mimic the bow. "I'm excited to be here." As they walked through the station, Alan noticed several aliens stopping to stare at him. Some pointed, while others whispered to companions. "Is something wrong?" Alan asked. "They're looking at me strangely." Zixar's scales shifted color slightly, which Alan guessed might be their version of embarrassment. "Forgive them. Most species here have never seen a human in person. Your kind is quite new to the galactic community." They entered a transport tube that whisked them through the station's levels. Zixar explained points of interest as they passed various sections. "That is the Xenobotanical Garden. There, the Physics Research Wing. Below, the medical facilities." The tube stopped at a level marked with symbols Alan couldn't read. "Your quarters," Zixar explained, leading him down a curved hallway. "Tomorrow, you will present your research to the Xenobiological Committee. They are particularly interested in human adaptation and reproduction." Alan nodded. "Basic stuff. Really, I've prepared a comprehensive overview of human biology." Zixar made a clicking sound. "Excellent. The committee members are most curious. Few carbon-based species develop along paths similar to humans." They reached a door that slid open to reveal a comfortable room adjusted for human needs. Alan was impressed by the thoughtfulness. Earth normal gravity, temperature, and even a water shower. "Rest well," Zixar said. "Your presentation begins at first bell. I will return to escort you." After Zixar left, Alan unpacked his few belongings and reviewed his presentation notes. Standard information about human physiology, environmental adaptations, and reproductive biology. Nothing that seemed particularly noteworthy. Little did he know that his casual mention of live birth, something so fundamental to human identity that he barely thought to emphasize it, would cause the biggest scientific uproar the Galactic Council had seen in 300 years. As Alan drifted to sleep, aliens throughout the station were already buzzing with rumors about the strange new humans. Some claimed they had skin that changed color like Praxian mood lizards. Others insisted they could regrow limbs. But none had guessed the truth that would shock them all tomorrow: that humans didn't hatch from eggs, but were born alive from their mothers' bodies. In the quiet of his room, Alan slept peacefully, unaware that he was about to become the most talked-about being on the station. The Xenobiological Committee chamber was a large circular room with rising tiers of seats, designed to accommodate beings of all shapes and sizes. Alan stood at the center podium, surrounded by at least 30 alien scientists from different worlds. Their eyes, stalks, sensory pits, and other visual organs all focused on him as he prepared his presentation. Zixar sat in the front row, giving Alan an encouraging nod. The committee chair, a being with blue feathers and 4 arms named Krell, introduced him with a series of musical chirps that the translator rendered as formal welcome. "Thank you for this opportunity," Alan began, activating his display screen. "I'm honored to share information about human biology with the Galactic Council." The first part of his presentation went smoothly. Alan explained about Earth's diverse ecosystems and how humans had adapted to survive in many different environments. The aliens seemed interested but not overly surprised by most of the information. "Humans are remarkably similar to many carbon-based species," Alan continued. "We breathe oxygen, consume organic matter for energy, and reproduce sexually." He displayed a diagram of the human reproductive system. "Unlike many species, humans are mammals. This means females carry developing offspring inside their bodies until birth, rather than laying eggs." The room went completely silent. Then, all at once, the chamber erupted in noise. Aliens turned to each other, gesturing wildly and speaking in a dozen different languages. Some stood up from their seats, pointing at the diagram in apparent disbelief. Alan stopped speaking, confused by the reaction. He looked at Zixar, who seemed frozen in place. Scales shifted to a pale yellow color. Krell banged a gavel-like object, trying to restore order. "Please, let the human continue." A tall, insect-like alien with compound eyes rose from the third row. "This is absurd. The offspring grows inside the body. Where is the shell? How does it receive nutrients?" Alan blinked in surprise. "Through an organ called the placenta, which connects the developing baby to the mother's blood supply. The baby grows within a fluid-filled sac in the uterus for approximately 9 months before birth." This explanation only caused more commotion. One gelatinous alien near the back actually changed color from green to bright red. Another seemed to faint, slumping against its neighbor. "Impossible," shouted a reptilian being. "No intelligent species could evolve with such a dangerous method. The host body would reject the parasite." "It's not a parasite," Alan tried to explain. "It's a natural reproductive process for mammals. Many Earth species reproduce this way." "Are you claiming," Krell asked in a shaking voice, "that human babies do not hatch from eggs at all?" "That's correct," Alan confirmed. "Humans give live birth." The uproar doubled in volume. One alien stormed out of the chamber. Others began arguing amongst themselves about whether Alan was lying or delusional. Suddenly, a voice cut through the chaos. "He's telling the truth." All heads turned toward a human woman standing in the doorway. She had dark skin, curly black hair, and wore a uniform similar to Alan's, but with different insignia. Dr. Kate Summers, Earth Medical Division. She introduced herself, walking confidently to the center of the room. "I can confirm everything Dr. Peters has said. Humans are placental mammals. We don't lay eggs. Our young develop internally and are born live." "But this defies all evolutionary logic," protested a mollusk-like being, its tentacles waving in agitation. Krell banged the gavel again. "This session is adjourned while the committee evaluates this unusual information. Dr. Peters, Dr. Summers, you will remain available for further questioning." As the aliens filed out, many still arguing loudly, Kate approached Alan with a grimace. "You really didn't know this would happen, did you?" "Know what?" Alan asked, bewildered. "That we're the only live-bearing species they've ever encountered in space. Welcome to the Freak Show, Dr. Peters. It's about to get much weirder." By the next morning, news had spread throughout the entire station. Alan could feel the stares as he walked with Kate to the station's dining area. Aliens pointed, whispered, and some even took pictures with small devices. "I don't understand," Alan said, picking at his food. "Why is this such a big deal?" Mammals aren't exactly rare. Kate sighed. On Earth, no. But out here, intelligence evolved primarily in egg-laying species. According to what I've learned, over 97% of spacefaring civilizations developed from ancestors that laid eggs. A group of small, blue-skinned aliens at a nearby table were openly gawking at them. One brave enough to approach set a datapad on their table. "Excuse," it said in broken English. "Sign, please. First scene of live birth species." Kate smiled politely and signed the pad. The alien hurried back to its friends, all buzzing with excitement. "You're a celebrity now," Kate said. "The strange human who grows babies inside bodies." Alan's personal communicator beeped. A message from Zixar read, "Meet at human quarters level. Important discussion. Many scientists wish to interview you." When they arrived at the human residential section, Alan was surprised to find about 20 humans gathered in a common room. Some wore science uniforms, others diplomatic attire. A stern-looking woman with gray hair stepped forward. "Dr. Peters, I'm Ambassador Maria Garcia. You've created quite the diplomatic situation." "I didn't mean to cause problems," Alan said. "I was just sharing basic information." Maria motioned for everyone to sit. "We've been keeping a low profile about certain human traits, not hiding them, exactly, but not advertising them either. We wanted a smooth integration into the galactic community." "Why didn't anyone warn me?" Alan asked. A man in a medical uniform spoke up. "Most of us learned the hard way, just like you. I'm Dr. Paul Baker. When I mentioned human pregnancy to a Zoraxian doctor, he thought I was describing a disease." Everyone shared similar stories, some funny, some uncomfortable. Kate explained that she had arrived 3 months earlier and experienced the same shock from the alien community. The door chimed, and Zixar entered looking flustered. "Dr. Peters, a delegation of scientists from 7 worlds has demanded a formal investigation into human reproductive claims. They believe you may be, how do you say, pulling their walking appendages." "You mean they think I'm pulling their legs?" "That I'm joking?" Alan asked incredulously. "Yes, some believe humans are fabricating this information for unknown purposes. Others think you must be mistaken about your own species." "That's ridiculous," Kate said. "How could we be wrong about how we reproduce?" Zixar's scales rippled in what Alan was starting to recognize as embarrassment. "The council has called an emergency session. They request Dr. Peters appear before the full assembly tomorrow." Maria groaned. "The full council? All 236 representatives? This is a diplomatic nightmare." "What happens at this council meeting?" Alan asked nervously. "You'll be questioned extensively," Maria explained. "Some will be hostile. Many simply won't believe you without proof." "Proof? What kind of proof could I possibly give them?" Alan asked, horrified at what they might request. Paul laughed. "Don't worry. We've prepared medical scans, anatomical models, and educational videos about human reproduction. No need for live demonstrations." Zixar handed Alan a formal document. "This is your summons. The council rarely calls emergency sessions. This is unprecedented." After Zixar left, Maria gathered everyone closer. "Listen carefully. Tomorrow will shape how the entire galactic community views humanity for centuries. Alan, you need to be calm, respectful, but firm. These beings simply cannot comprehend birth as we know it." Alan looked around at the human faces watching him. Until yesterday, he had been a relatively unknown scientist. Now, somehow, he had become the spokesperson for humanity's most basic biological function. "No pressure," he muttered to himself. "Just explaining where babies come from to an audience of aliens who think we're either lying or impossible." The Grand Council chamber was enormous, with curved walls that rose hundreds of feet high and seats for over 200 representatives from across the galaxy. Alan stood on a small platform in the center of the room, feeling very small and alone. Ambassador Maria and Kate sat in a designated Earth section, offering encouraging nods. The council leader, a tall being with silvery skin called Excel, brought the session to order with a series of melodic tones. The translator in Alan's ear rendered it as, "This emergency session will now address the biological claims of the Earth delegation. Dr. Alan Peters will present information on human reproduction." Alan cleared his throat. "Thank you for this opportunity to clarify our biology. Humans are mammals, which means, where do you store your eggs before they are fertilized?" interrupted a plant-like being with purple leaves. "Humans don't produce eggs in the same way," Alan began. Another voice cut in. "Do male humans fertilize the eggs outside the body, or do females collect the genetic material first?" "Neither," Alan tried to explain. "Human females produce microscopic egg cells that remain inside the body. If fertilized, the egg develops into an embryo within the uterus." The chamber filled with murmurs and translated exclamations of disbelief. A reptilian counselor stood, pointing a clawed finger at Alan. "You expect us to believe a new life grows inside another being? That is parasitic. No evolved species would permit such a thing." "It's not parasitic," Alan said firmly. "The mother's body is specifically adapted to nurture the developing child. This is how all mammals on Earth reproduce." "Mammals?" asked a squid-like being. "This term is unfamiliar." Alan explained about mammals, warm-blooded vertebrates with hair that nurse their young with milk. This caused another wave of shocked reactions. "You feed your young with bodily secretions?" a gaseous entity asked, its translator conveying clear disgust. For nearly an hour, Alan answered increasingly personal questions about human reproduction. Some counselors seemed scientifically curious, while others appeared horrified or skeptical. "This cannot be true," declared Counselor Drex, a large insectoid with mandibles that clicked as he spoke. "No intelligence could evolve from such a flawed reproductive system. The humans must be lying or mistaken." "We are neither lying nor mistaken about how our own species reproduces," Alan replied, his patience wearing thin. An aquatic being in a hovering water tank moved forward. "I am Professor Eula of the Aquarians. Our records suggest that mammals exist on many worlds, but rarely achieve sapience. Humans may represent the first mammalian species to develop space travel." This statement caused even more commotion. Council leader Excel had to activate a sound-dampening field to restore order. Counselor Drex rose again. "If this is true, humans are evolutionary aberrations. Their biology is inefficient and bizarre. Perhaps they should not have full council membership until we understand what went wrong with their development." Alan felt his face grow hot with anger. He had listened to hours of aliens discussing humans as if they were some kind of mistake. Ambassador Maria was making frantic cutting motions, trying to signal them to stay calm. But Alan had reached his limit. "Nothing went wrong with our development," Alan said loudly, silencing the chamber. "Life on Earth took many evolutionary paths. Some creatures lay eggs, others give live birth. Some breathe air, others water. The beauty of evolution is that there is no single correct path to intelligence." He pointed around the chamber. "You have feathers, scales, leaves, and exoskeletons. Some of you breathe methane, others oxygen. Some have 6 limbs, others none. Why is internal gestation where you draw the line of what's acceptable?" The council chamber went completely quiet. Alan could hear his own heartbeat in his ears. Professor Eula broke the silence. "The human makes a valid point. Perhaps we have been too narrow in our understanding of possible paths to sapience." Council leader Excel nodded slowly. "This session has revealed our own biological prejudices. We will adjourn to reflect on what we have learned today." As Alan stepped down from the platform, he noticed that many of the counselors were looking at him differently, not with disgust or disbelief, but with something that might have been respect. 3 days after the council hearing, Alan was invited to a scientific conference about interspecies biology. The conference room was packed with alien researchers, many of whom now greeted Alan with curiosity rather than shock. He sat between Kate and Dr. Lisa Bennett, another human physician who had arrived at the station a month earlier. "You're handling your fame well," Lisa whispered as several aliens took pictures of Alan with their devices. "Fame wasn't exactly what I signed up for when I became a xenobiologist," Alan replied with a small smile. The conference began with presentations about various species' biological adaptations. Professor Eula, the Aquarian who had defended Alan at the council meeting, was explaining gill development when a commotion erupted near the back of the room. A tall, spindly alien with blue-gray skin had collapsed onto the floor. Its body was shaking, and a yellow fluid leaked from pores along its torso. "That's Counselor Nix from Telosia Prime," Kate said. "Something's very wrong." Medical staff rushed to the fallen alien. Lisa stood up and moved closer, watching as they scanned the alien with their devices. "Reproductive toxicity," one medic announced. "The egg sacs are rupturing internally." Lisa stepped forward. "I'm Dr. Bennett, human physician. May I help?" The lead medic, a furry being with 6 arms, looked uncertain. "This is a Telosian biological crisis. Their reproductive system is unique." "What's happening?" Lisa asked, kneeling beside the alien. "Telosians produce egg sacs internally, which are normally released for external hatching. Something has caused the sacs to rupture inside the body. The toxins will kill Counselor Nix in hours." The medical team worked frantically, administering medications and attaching monitoring devices. Nothing seemed to help. The yellow fluid continued to leak, and the Telosian's color was turning pale. Lisa studied the medical readings, then turned to Alan. "This reminds me of placental abruption in humans. The body is treating the eggs as foreign objects now that they've ruptured." Alan nodded. "Like the immune system attacking a damaged placenta." Lisa addressed the lead medic again. "In human medicine, we have techniques for dealing with similar emergencies. We might be able to adapt them." The medic hesitated, then looked at the worsening readings. "We have no other options. What do you suggest?" Working quickly, Lisa explained her plan. Using human medical principles about how the placenta interacts with the mother's body, she helped the team create a treatment to suppress the Telosian's immune response while safely removing the damaged egg material. For 2 tense hours, Lisa worked alongside the alien medical team. Alan and Kate helped translate complex human medical concepts. Finally, Counselor Nix's readings began to stabilize. "The toxin levels are dropping," announced the lead medic with clear relief. "The treatment is working." By the time Counselor Nix was moved to the recovery area, word of the emergency intervention had spread throughout the station. Professor Eula approached the humans as they sat exhausted in the waiting area. "You have done something remarkable today," the Aquarian said. "You applied knowledge from your unusual biology to save a life that our methods could not." Lisa shook her head modestly. "We just adapted some basic human medical procedures." Nevertheless, Eula continued, "this demonstrates that different evolutionary paths can offer unique solutions. The very aspects of human reproduction that seem so strange may hold medical insights valuable to all species." The next day, the station's news reported on the emergency treatment. Many of the aliens who had been most vocal against human reproduction now spoke about valuable biological diversity and medical crossover potential. Zixar visited Alan in his quarters, bringing a formal message. The Xenomedicine Division has requested that Dr. Bennett join their research team. They wish to explore applications of mammalian biological principles in treating egg-laying species. "Things are changing fast," Alan observed. "Indeed," Zixar agreed, its scales shifting to a pleased blue color. "And the Council has approved funding for a new comparative reproductive biology department. They ask if you would consider heading it." Alan smiled. In just 1 week, he had gone from being seen as a biological oddity to being recognized for the valuable perspective humans could bring to galactic science. "I'd be honored," he said, "though I never thought my career would advance because humans don't lay eggs." 2 weeks after the medical emergency, the human delegation organized a cultural exchange event in the station's largest gathering hall. Screens displayed images of Earth's diverse ecosystems and animals. Food stations offered safe versions of Earth cuisine for different alien biologies. Most importantly, educational displays showed the variety of reproductive methods found on Earth. "I never realized one planet could have so many different ways of producing offspring," said a fascinated Zixar as Alan guided him through the exhibits. "Earth has egg layers, live birthers, and even some species that can change their reproductive methods based on environmental conditions," Alan explained. The exhibit drew hundreds of alien visitors. Many were particularly interested in the section about Earth mammals, with videos showing various animals giving birth and caring for their young. "The internal development allows for complex brain formation before birth," Kate explained to a group of scientist visitors. Many researchers believe this contributed to the rapid evolution of intelligence in some mammal species. Lisa Bennett had set up a medical education booth where she demonstrated how understanding placental development had led to important medical advances on Earth. "The interaction between mother and developing offspring creates unique biological mechanisms that we've adapted into treatments for many conditions," she told the crowd of medical professionals. These same principles helped save Counselor Nix. The Telosian counselor was present, now fully recovered, speaking positively about the human intervention that saved his life. His public support had dramatically shifted opinions about human biology. Ambassador Maria watched the successful event with satisfaction. "A month ago, most of the station thought humans were lying about how we reproduce. Now they're fascinated by it." As the event continued, Alan noticed a small group of aliens in heated discussion near one of the displays about Earth's evolutionary history. He approached cautiously. "Is everything all right?" he asked. One of the aliens, a feathered being with bright orange plumage, turned to him excitedly. "Dr. Peters, we were just discussing your planet's remarkable adaptability. My name is Cree, evolutionary biologist from Avian Prime. The diversity of reproductive strategies on Earth is unprecedented," added another alien with transparent skin through which Alan could see multiple pulsing organs. "My species once had live-bearing ancestors," Zixar admitted, joining the conversation. "But we evolved toward egg-laying as our planet's climate changed. It was more efficient for survival in our harsh environment." "That's fascinating," Alan said. "On Earth, both methods have persisted because each offers different advantages in different environments." The discussion grew, attracting more participants. A group of alien evolutionary biologists proposed that mammalian reproduction might be more common in certain types of planetary environments, particularly those with stable climates and higher gravity. "We may have overlooked potential intelligence on planets with conditions favorable to live-bearing species," suggested Professor Eula. "Our search parameters were biased toward worlds that produce egg-laying species." By the end of the cultural exchange, something remarkable had happened. The initial shock and disgust at human reproduction had transformed into scientific curiosity and respect. Several alien scientists requested permission to visit Earth to study its biodiversity firsthand. That evening, Alan sat with Kate and Lisa in the human lounge, celebrating their successful event. "I can't believe how quickly things changed," Kate said. "From biological freaks to respected scientists in under a month." "Saving a council member's life certainly helped," Lisa added with a smile. Alan's communicator beeped with a message from the Galactic Survey Corps. He read it with widening eyes. "What is it?" Kate asked. "They're reassessing planets previously overlooked for intelligent life," Alan said, "looking specifically for conditions that might support mammalian evolution." "All because you mentioned humans don't lay eggs in your presentation," Lisa laughed. "Sometimes the most basic facts about ourselves can be the most revolutionary to others," Alan said thoughtfully. "I wonder what they'll find out there." None of them could have guessed how soon they would have an answer. Alan was in his new office, organizing research materials for the Comparative Reproductive Biology Department when his door chimed. Kate burst in, her face flushed with excitement. "Have you heard the news?" she asked breathlessly. Alan shook his head. "I've been buried in work all morning. What's happening?" The Galactic Survey Corps just announced a major discovery at the edge of Alliance space. They found another spacefaring civilization, and preliminary scans indicate they're mammals. Alan dropped the data pad he was holding. "Are you serious? Another mammalian species with space travel?" "Dead serious. The Council is buzzing with the news. The Discovery ship sent back biological readings that show clear mammalian characteristics, internal temperature regulation, hair-like coverings, and signs of live birth reproduction." Alan's communicator beeped with an urgent message from Ambassador Maria. "Emergency Council session in 1 hour. Your presence requested." The Council chamber was packed when Alan arrived. Representatives from all member worlds had gathered, and the energy in the room was electric. Council leader Excel called the session to order. "As you have all heard, Survey Ship Horizon has encountered a previously unknown species at the edge of Sector 87. They call themselves the Nelvarians. Initial contact has been peaceful, and biological scans confirm they are a mammalian species with reproductive biology similar to humans." Murmurs swept through the chamber. Alan noticed that the reactions were very different from when his own biology had been revealed. There was excitement rather than disgust, curiosity instead of disbelief. This discovery challenges our long-held assumptions about the evolutionary paths to intelligence. Tell continued. "We must approach this new species with an open mind." Professor Eula floated forward in her water tank. "The Survey Corps has adjusted its search parameters based on what we learned from humans. They are now scanning planets with conditions favorable to mammalian evolution, and already have identified 3 more potential worlds with technological emissions." Councillor Drex, who had once called humans evolutionary aberrations, now spoke in a different tone. "We must acknowledge our error in assuming egg-laying was the primary path to sapience. It appears that the galaxy may hold more diversity than we imagined." Zell turned to where the Earth delegation sat. "In light of this discovery, the Council requests that Dr. Peters and Dr. Summers join the first contact mission to the Nelvarians. Your biological similarity may help establish peaceful relations." "Me?" Alan asked in surprise. "I'm not a diplomat." "But you understand what it means to be a mammal in a galaxy of egg layers," Kate said quietly. "That perspective is invaluable now." Ambassador Maria nodded encouragingly. "The Council would never have considered this if you hadn't opened their minds to biological diversity, Alan." After the session ended, Alan found himself surrounded by aliens who had once viewed him with suspicion, but now sought his expertise. Even Councillor Drex approached him. "I must apologize for my previous statements," the insectoid being said, mandibles clicking softly. "My species values conformity and consistency. Difference frightened me. I have learned much from your patience." That evening, Alan and Kate met with the first contact team to prepare for their mission. The ship would depart in 3 days for Nelvarian space. "I still can't believe this is happening," Alan said as they reviewed the preliminary data on the Nelvarians. "A month ago, I was just trying to explain human reproduction. Now we're preparing to meet another mammalian species." Kate smiled. "That's the real beauty of science, isn't it? One small fact can change our entire understanding of the universe." As the team discussed the upcoming mission, news arrived that the Survey Corps had identified yet another potential mammalian civilization in a distant sector. "It seems we're not alone after all," Alan said, looking at the star map with growing wonder. "We never were," Kate replied. "We just needed to help the galaxy look for life beyond what they expected to find." 6 months had passed since Alan's fateful presentation about human reproduction. The station had changed dramatically in that time, as had Alan's place within the galactic community. He stood by the large viewing window in his department's new research wing, watching ships come and go. The mission to the Nelvarian homeworld had been a great success. The mammalian species had welcomed the joint delegation, especially after learning they weren't the only life-bearing intelligent species in the galaxy. Admiring the view again, Kate asked, joining him at the window. "Just thinking about how much has changed," Ellen replied. "6 months ago, we were biological oddities. Now there are 5 known mammalian spacefaring species in the Alliance." The discovery of the Nelvarians had led to the identification of 3 more mammalian civilizations that had previously been overlooked by Alliance surveys. Each had developed space travel independently and had been similarly reluctant to reveal their reproductive biology to egg-laying species they encountered. "The new students arrived today," Kate reminded him. Alan's comparative reproductive biology department had quickly become one of the most popular on the station. Scientists from across the Alliance applied to study under him, eager to learn about different evolutionary paths. They walked together to the education center, where a group of young aliens from various worlds waited. Among them were 2 Nelvarians, their fur-covered bodies and familiar mammalian features now a welcome sight on the station. "Welcome to your first day of advanced xenobiology," Alan greeted them. "Today we'll be discussing how diverse reproductive strategies influence evolutionary development." The class was engaged and curious, asking thoughtful questions about both egg-laying and live-bearing species. Alan noticed how easily they accepted concepts that had caused an uproar just months earlier. After the class, Alan met with Professor Hewlett in the station's garden. The area had been redesigned to include plants from all member worlds, including a section of earth trees and flowers. "Your paper on mammalian intelligence has caused quite a stir in scientific circles," Hewlett said. Alan smiled modestly. "I just compiled the data. The evidence speaks for itself. Nevertheless, it has changed how we view evolution. The Council has officially updated the definition of intelligent life to be more inclusive of diverse reproductive methods." They watched as a group of children played in a nearby area. The younger generation adapted much more quickly than adults. Alien children of various species played alongside human children and young Nelvarians, without any concern about their biological differences. A young Craxian scientist approached them, looking nervous but excited. "Dr. Peters, I'm Trill, Professor Zixar's assistant. I wanted to share my research with you." Trill presented data showing that species with diverse reproductive strategies within their evolutionary history showed greater adaptability to environmental changes. "My findings suggest that the Craxian shift from live-bearing to egg-laying might have actually limited our evolutionary potential," Trill explained. "Species that maintain diverse approaches, like on Earth, developed more complex problem-solving abilities." "Fascinating work," Alan said warmly. "You should present this at the next Council Science Forum." Later that evening, Alan joined the human community for dinner. Their numbers had grown as more Earth scientists and diplomats arrived at the station. Lisa Bennett was there, now heading her own medical research team, combining human and alien medical techniques. "I heard the Council is considering Earth as the host for next year's Interspecies Medical Conference," she told the group. "Who would have thought?" Ambassador Maria raised her glass. To Alan, who turned a simple presentation about human reproduction into a galactic revolution. Everyone cheered, but Alan shook his head. "I just stated a basic fact about humans. Nature did the revolutionary part millions of years ago." As the evening ended, Alan returned to his quarters and looked at the picture of Earth on his wall. Something as fundamental as how humans reproduced had seemed alien to others, yet understanding those differences had ultimately brought the galactic community closer together. In the vastness of space, life had found countless ways to exist and thrive. The true lesson wasn't about which method was better, but about appreciating the beautiful diversity that made the universe so remarkable.